I have Hunter show me how the ropes for a couple of days, and then we agree that the third day I'm gonna go on my own. I'm gonna go out and see if I can do it. Okay, so I get up that morning at 4:30 a.m. And I sit on my bunk and I pray, and I ask God, help me to have courage, help me to have ability, confidence as I go about this, to help me to do a good job as I go about this. As soon as I walk out the door, and listen when I say this, I have this thought in my head, and it wasn't a voice, but it was clear and distinct, and it said, everything's going to go wrong. Everything's going to go wrong. And I even want to say that I agreed with it, with that thought. I jump on my four-wheeler and I go down and I find my sheep, and I think they're over here, and I look and they're over here. And so I go up and around them, and I go over here, and the first thing you do is you feed the dogs when you go in the morning. So I go around the other side over here to where they are, and the sun's just starting to come up, and the dogs come, and they come automatic, And so I put the food in the bowls, and I'm sitting there, and I'm kicked back on my four-wheeler backwards, looking, got my arm up, and I'm watching the sun come up, and I'm just feeling really good about things, Well, the only thing I got right this morning was putting the food in the bowls. It's the only thing that I got right. Because so you don't get the sheep up off their bed, right? You let them get up themselves. So I'm sitting there watching the sun come up, and they're still laying down, and I'm like, everything's good. And so they finally get up, and so I'm like, all right. Well, I want them to go down here in this little draw where there's grass, So I think I'll go around this way and bump them so they'll go down this way. But when I go around this way, they're already going around the backside. They're going the other way, so I got to bump them this way, right? So I think, and I push them down here. And what I did is I pushed them too hard right from the get. And they went right where I wanted them to go and kept on going. So before I know things are going out of control, the sheep are going up this big old hill. I mean, it's huge. And at the top of this hill is a reservation. And I quickly see that it's out of control. I don't know what I'm doing. Well, the day before, I seen Hunter on his. Now keep in mind, Hunter looks like a dude with four wheels when he's on a four-wheeler. He's going 190, you know what I mean? And he's just, it's doing everything he wants to do. And I'm on this four-wheeler, and I'm a little light in the butt. So I'm going 190, and I look like a flag flapping on this four-wheeler. Well, I see him getting out of control, so last thing Hunter said to me was, if you need me, come get me, and I'll be there. So it's like 2 miles or probably back to camp, maybe even better. And there's, 400 sheep, maybe plus. And I see him going up this hill, and I'm like, oh my, OMG. I don't want to go up on this hill, because when I seen Hunter on the hill the day before that, I'm like, oh my gosh, look at this guy. That's insane. He's crazy. So I'm going to go get Hunter, because I don't want to go on this hill. So I'm on my way to go get Hunter. And I go up there and I open his door. Hunter, man, sheep are here. They're going on the reservation. They're out of control. And I slam the door, jump back on my four-wheeler and take off. And I'm going back there and I know he's coming behind me, right? So, but I'm thinking, man, I got to get these sheep. I've got to get them. And when I'm coming down, I'm coming from the sheep camps. I turn this corner, I look up there, I'm like, oh, OMG, man, they're everywhere. And they're going up the hill, and they're spreading out like this. And I'm like, oh, no. So I get down there, and I get down the bottom. I'm like, I got to get them. I got to get them. So I'll go up the hill. And I'm flying up this hill, and it's not a hill you can just go sideways on. I got to go all the way up, over, and then come down on them. Go all the way up, come over, and come down on them again. And now in hindsight, any one of them times I'm going up that hill, that four-wheeler could have flipped over on me. I'm hitting sagebrush and rocks, and this terrain is pretty ugly. So, it's not like I can lean over it, because I'm hanging on to it, so, and I'm pretty lucky that I didn't have an accident then. So after I get them all down, I'm feeling really full of myself, I guess, because I've never done that ever in my whole life. You know, and probably didn't need to. They probably would have come down on their own. I'm not sure. Well, so now they're huffing and puffing. And I remember Josh telling me, slow, go easy. You know, I don't want you to get hurt. You know, slow and easy makes big lambs. Well, I ran these dang sheep to death. You know, they're huffing and puffing. They're heading for water. So I'm like, it's 9:30. You know, we'd have met up and took them to water right around then. Well, I think I know where the water is, and so I'm bumping them, you know, and I'm still pushing them. Not hard, I don't think, you know, but obviously too hard. And so I tried to go around them to see, and I looked down and I was like, oh, there's no water there. So then they start going their own way, right? Well, there must have been old water seep here or something, because it was like red clay, red dirt, and they were sucking on that, trying to get the water, the moisture out of it. But there's some in there that won't move, and this is where my poor decision came in. Poor judgment. Well, all of it was. I go around, this is a little goal, you know, and it's in there a little bit, but I go around this side and I look, and I'm like, oh, no. Go around this side and I look, I'm like, no. I go over here and I'm like, yeah, I can do this, and so I ease over it. And I can't tell you where I went wrong. I can tell you all the way up to the point where I'm like, oh, snap. You know what I mean? I got to dive off of the four-wheeler because all of a sudden I'm like this. And I couldn't go this way. I could only go this way. So I dive off. And I land on my shoulder. I hear my shoulder go right away. I don't even see the four-wheeler coming, but I'm here and the four-wheeler's here. And it came right behind me. It rolled over me. Rolled over me pretty good. And it just tossed me around, spun me around, and knocked me clean out. My prayer that morning, and the prayer I prayed when I woke up, well, I cried out, oh God, I need you, I'm hurt. You know, I understand the difference now between those prayers, so I just want to get to. So, okay, so Hunter comes, finds me. Oh, that's another thing. In my franticness, in my panic, I panicked Hunter too, I'm sure. Because when he's coming in a rush to help me, he hits a rock and flips his four-wheelers. Not only did the way I handled the situation and how frantic I was, it affected him too, you know. And so then when he finally shows up, I mean, I go up and I sit on this hill, which was not an easy feat, because I know that he's going to be coming. I'm praying that he's going to be coming, because I know, because I ran back into him before I went down and wrecked my four-wheeler and found out that he rolled his four-wheeler. So I'm down there hoping that they can fix the four-wheeler, because I know Chris and them are coming to help fix the four-wheeler so they can come. So I'm like, if I get up on this spot, he's going to find me. So I sat there for a while. Well, so anyways, he goes and calls Frank, you know, and Frank comes up there and gets me. And Frank's not real happy with me. But I think Frank's not happy with me, and maybe that's a little bit true, I'm not sure. But I know he's not happy about the situation. But it's clear that he's not happy with me. So, I mean, I'm on the way down, we're on the way down, and it's clear to me he's upset. So in my head, I start thinking, why is this man not happy with me? I'm the one that's hurt. What's he mad about? You know? Oh, he must be worried about himself. That's what I'm hearing in my head. I know that's hard to hear, but that's what I was hearing in my head was, he must be worried about what he's building. He must be worried about the program. He must be worried about the ministry. He must be worried about himself, basically, you know. I know better than that now. I just want to add that real quick before I get going further. Well, I think there's so much that I say to him, Frank, I'm not going to say anything about the program or the ministry or the ranch. Don't worry, thinking that's going to ease his mind, right? And he starts to say something to me. He says, no, just tell him, and I cut him off. And I said, well, I'm just going to tell him that I was four-wheeling with buddies, and I had an accident. And then we never talked no more about it, but my mindset was, You know, I mean, I was hurt, and, you know, I mean, I had Saint in my ear. I did. I had him in my ear. And we get all the way to the hospital, and I tell him, just drop me off out front. He says, no, I'm going to come in. So he parks, and he comes in, and, you know, I tell the hospital right away, I lied to him. I made up some lies. Again, saying in my head. You know, because in my past, I've always needed a reason or excuse to explain actions that have happened to me. So I go off with this big, you know, I was out four-wheeling with some buddies and, you know, had an accident. And it wasn't long after that I realized that the truth was good enough. That all I needed to tell them was I had an ATV accident. That was it. And they took over, you know, but I made up this lie when I went in the hospital. And so from the point that morning when I left, and I had that thought, and I was going to say hear that voice, but I'm telling you it was as clear as hearing a voice. From that point to my reaction to everything, all the way to Frank taking me to the hospital, and the thoughts that I was having, and making lies up to go in the hospital, that was all Satan. That was all Satan pushing me. I got this right here that I wrote down. Satan rushes you, frightens you, pushes you, confuses you, condemns you, stresses you, discourages you, and worries you. And I was all that and more that morning. I lost control of everything. I could not remember what Josh told me. Never even crossed my mind because I was in a frantic and a panic, and just seeing everything failing around me. Well, when we got to the hospital, I was only at the hospital for like a day and a half over here in Warland. All I could think about was that thought I had. Why? I prayed right before that. Why would I have that thought? And I realized that in my life previously, there had been a couple times where where I needed things to go right that day. You know, and they didn't. And I remember I prayed then too. So it was really nagging on me. And I came home, and I was home for a day and a half. And my body started giving me heck. I felt, oh, here's another part. Frank takes me in there, and he comes in with me. And on my way in, I'm like, I'm an addict in recovery. I can't have any narcotics. Well, guess what happens when you say that out loud in the hospital? You get no narcotics. None at all. And I'm not sure if I said it for Frank's benefit, because he was there. I don't even know if he heard me. But I said it out loud, you know, and I wanted to, because if I said it because I mean it, or if I said it because Frank heard me, but now I realize it doesn't matter either way, because I've never said those words before ever. Never, you know. So I get in there and they give me a non-narcotic muscle relaxer and some Tylenol. And then they send me home with this bottle of non-narcotic muscle relaxers where I'm telling you they're no good. No good at all. So I'm sitting at home for a day and a half. Boy, and I'm just laid up. And I got a rope tied to the couch so I can lay on the couch. And if I have to sit up, I got to grab this rope and pull me up. Well, my body starts going through it again. And I don't realize to what extent, but that night, my body started seizing up. And, I mean, just all my muscles contracted at the same time. And it was just the worst thing I've ever experienced. And I started passing out. I tried to go get in the bathroom and passed out. Got to the toilet, passed out, fell off it. And the second time I fell off the toilet, I'm calling Nate. Nate! I'm trying to get Nate. And then I realized that at the moment I'm halfway undressed. So I got to quit calling Nate and get myself up off the floor. So I got to lay there for a while. I got my head pinched between the tub and the wall. And I'm laying on the floor in there, and I finally get up, and I go and I call Paula, or I text Paula. And I barely caught Glenn and Paula before they were out of phone range. And she told me to text Karen, to call Karen. But at that point, I'm like, man, I'll just tough it out. It was starting to get to be a big deal, and I'm like, I'm just going to tough it out. Everybody runs the hospital. And then Karen called me, and I'm like, whew. So Karen calls me, and I go back to the hospital in Warland. And the first thing they do is come in and say they want to talk to me about my non-narcotics. They're like, they want to talk to me about pain management. Thank the Lord. They want to talk to me about pain management because I'm like, please. And so they gave me a Valium, and that's why I forgot to tell you this today. They gave me Valium, and they gave me a shot of fentanyl. And it eased my body, chilled my body out because my body was just seizing up on me. John JC knows, but was just seizing up on me, so that's part of my talk tonight is pain management. How I went from narcotics for non-narcotics to narcotics, and I'll finish that off in the end. Well, this is how, from the moment that I woke up and I started praying, this is how smooth things went for me. I'm 7 weeks in right now. I broke 3 ribs. I punctured my side, just barely missed my intestines. I separated my shoulder, the AC in my shoulder, bruised my kidney, my lungs, and I was in pretty bad shape. Oh, and the reason why I had to go back to Warland is I fractured my spleen, and they couldn't see it for the first time I was there because it was a slow bleed. So when I went back, they took a couple pictures. They flew me to Casper, and there I stayed in Casper. So when I'm starting to feel far away. At first I wasn't too concerned, but then when they said they had to fly me, I started feeling far away because I am accustomed to being here. And I text Paula and I say, look, they want to fly me. They want me to go to Billings or Casper. And before I can make a decision, they tell me that they're flying me to Casper. Well, when I get to Casper, Glenn and Paula are there in Casper at the same time. They're there because Glenn's dad's in the last days of his life. So what was unfortunate for him was fortunate for me, because as soon as I get there, I'm not there 10 minutes and Glenn comes popping in my room. And I'm like, are you kidding me? And Paula comes in and prays over me, and I knew I was going to be okay. Not once during the whole time that I was there or came home. I even rode home with them. They released me in time to ride home with Glenn and Paula. Now, that's God's plan, and you can't tell me different. It's just unbelievable to me. Well, from the moment I cried out to the Lord and to right now, I mean, I've been good for 2 weeks now. I'm working, doing projects. I mean, no rib pain anymore. I got maybe an ache in my shoulder, but nothing to complain about. You know, and I've been banged up before, and it's seemed like a lot longer and a lot harder than this has for me to get over it, to feel better. And it's because God is with me. God has given me you as a family, the prayers that I received and the support I received, the clean living, all of it together. I mean, I feel great, and I'm amazed, and I'm astonished, and I'm appreciative. And so I got a couple of things here. Why? Because during this whole time, I'm like, why did this happen? And, you know, I prayed that morning. And I remember, so here, let me find it here. I got it written down right here. So if we can, real quick, I know it's running long, guys. You don't even have to go there. I got them all marked out here. So I want to start with James 1, 5, and 8. So 5 through 8, it says, if any of you lacks wisdom, let him ask of God, who gives to all liberally and without reproach, and it will be given to him. But let him ask in faith, with no doubting. With no doubting. For he who doubts is like a wave of the sea driven and tossed by the wind. For let not that man suppose that he will receive anything from the Lord. He is a double-minded man, unstable in all his ways. And that, to me, that explains it. That explains it to me. But I got another one here, Matthew 21, 21 and 22. So it says, so Matthew 21 says, so Jesus answered and said to them, assuredly I say to you, if you have faith And do not doubt, you will not only do what was done to the fig tree, but also if you say to this mountain, be removed and be cast into the sea, it will be done. And whatever things you ask in prayer, believing, you will receive. So right here, God stills you, reassures you, leads you, enlightens you, forgives you, calms you, encourages you, and comforts you. I have no doubt that Satan had control of me that morning. No doubt about it, because I was just out of control. And that's the way I've lived my life, is out of control. I made so many mistakes because I attacked things with such a fever and such, probably arrogance. And I mean, I'm a city boy. You could probably clock my four-wheeler time up in a couple of hours over my life. When I left the hospital, they wanted to send me home with a bottle of oxycodone. And I told them no. I didn't. I was far along enough with my pain management that they sent me home with some gabapentin and Flexeril. Now, Flexeril is almost a narcotic, but it's a muscle relaxer. And with those two and Tylenol, that's what I had to get through this. But I couldn't imagine myself with a bottle of oxycodone. Now, I'm sure that would have been managed for me, but I didn't think that. All I could think of was me and a bottle of oxycodone and what would happen. So I turned that down. So I want to finish this up, but I want to, let's see. So that morning, I went. What a mess. I guess what I'm saying is, where everything went wrong was right when I had that thought. I should have stopped right then. I should have stopped right then and started all over again. And I didn't. I walked out, I had that thought. I jumped on that four-wheeler and I went about that job the way I went about my life. And I realized that was the turning point in my day right there. I truly, truly, truly believe that this is my family here. I believe it with my whole heart. And I'm so pleased to be here today. And just in this book right here, what we're doing, what earth am I here for? It talks about it in Ephesians right here. You are members of God's very own family, and you belong in God's household with every other Christian. And in Ephesians 4:16, the whole body is fitted together perfectly as each part does its own special work. It helps the other parts grow so that the whole body is healthy and growing and full of love. When Frank took me to the hospital that day, like I said, I wanted him to drop me off out front. That's what I expected. When he came in, I did not know that he stayed like 5 hours. They come in later that night and told me, your friend's still here. And I'm like, what? And this is 5 hours later at least. And they're like, do you want him to come back here? I'm like, no. No. They said, tell him, you're going to keep me. And so he did. They did. But I was just amazed that he stayed there for that long. Everybody knows what kind of drag it is. It's like helping somebody move. Go to the emergency room and wait. But I've never had the support of family. I lost my family when I was really young. When I was 13, actually. And I've been living life, doing Satan's work all my life. And not caring. Knowing I'm going to go to prison. Knowing I'm going to hurt people. And knowing I'm going without and I'm belittling myself and becoming okay with it. But having a family and the support and the prayers, I've never experienced that before, and I know the difference. And that's how I feel today, and I feel like this is my family, and I'm just happy to be here. I could have been hurt way worse, but it was enough to open up my eyes and know that when you pray, you know, I could have been more specific what I prayed for that morning. You know, everything that I prayed for, I mean, I don't, you know, I mean, I don't think it was in earnest. I don't think it was in earnest. And that's where I was in my spiritual walk, was I'll throw a prayer out there, maybe flippantly, and not fully believe it. Not fully believe that I was going to get. Because if I did, then I wouldn't go about that out there the way I did. I would have went out there calm, and I was told that. I would have went at it calm, and I would have went at it with a prayerful heart, you know, and that's what I should have been asking for, not courage or, you know, ability, things of that nature. You know, I don't know. God's a good God, but I don't know if He's going to give me ability to ride a four-wheeler like that the way I was doing it, you know, when I needed it. But I guess what I'm trying to say is that's what I got out of this, is I got family, and I know the difference now. I know why I would have that thought, and I know where to change it next time. But I just want to appreciate you guys listening to me, and I'm just really happy to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Jack, for that. And yeah, I asked him, so that hill right there, I was driving down the road, I said, is that the hill you was going up, one like that? And he said, yeah. I said, that's too steep. I learned that, he said. Anyway, I wasn't mad at him, I was concerned for him, and he did say, so I know I probably ain't doing all that good. I said, no, you've had a rough couple of days. Yes. We'll see how it goes. But anyway, y'all pray for Jack as he continues to work on his recovery. He'll gonna graduate in November, I think. So anyway, he's not too far away from graduating. Thank you, Jack, for that, and thank you for being here this evening. And we'll see you the next time we meet.